Welcome to In the Workshop. Some useful small things from China. A friend of mine sent me some of these to have a look at, and I wasn't sure what they were at first. I thought, well, they're sort of rubbery, so what are they? Do you have to stick a self-adhesive sandpaper disc to them? I don't think so, because there weren't any in the packet. At this point, I'd just like to apologise for the state of my hands. They are very dirty because I'm cleaning up a very old brass fire extinguisher. I wondered if these discs were abrasive to start with, so I fitted one into my Minicraft drill and tried it out on a piece of brass. And as you're about to see, this rubbery disc fitted into the Minicraft drill cleaned up the surface of the brass very well indeed. But it cleaned up the surface of the brass in a gentle manner. It wasn't aggressive. It's quite unlike a sanding disc, which would have put a lot of scratch marks on the brass. This smaller, thicker green disc was a little bit more aggressive and removed more material, but it was still not as ferocious as a sanding disc. To test these items, I'm not using any lubricant whatsoever. I would think that you have to use lubricant because I'm sure they're going to get hot, start smoking and burn out. This is the old fire extinguisher that I've been cleaning up, and I've been on with this for about an hour. And that's why, as I said earlier, my hands are very dirty. Part of this fire extinguisher is quite rough. It's as though two parts have been braced together. So I can see a good application for these tools, cleaning up old fire extinguishers, because the small flexible disc will get into all the nooks and crannies that need cleaning up. Originally I cleaned up most of the fire extinguisher on my polishing spindle, but some of the parts were more stubborn than others. I thought I would try some lubrication to see if it improved matters. And as you can tell by the change in the tone of the drill, it's definitely cutting more freely. I was very surprised though that these small cutters didn't just clog up, get hot and burn out. So my conclusion is I think they're quite good, and I didn't realise what they were till I put them back in the packet. Look at this. Maybe I should have read the label in the first place, although it's quite difficult to decipher. It says 18-piece diamond in rubber, I don't know what M is, metal, glass, stone, tile. And I can think of quite a few applications where this small set of tools would be useful. So moving on from the diamond rubber grinders, I'm going to look at these. These are a set of stepped hole cutters, very useful for cutting holes in sheet metal. But I'm always a little sceptical when things cost as little as these have done as to whether they will do the job. I once bought a set of drills that were very cheap and wished I hadn't done, because every time I used them, one by one, they broke. I must say though that these look to be manufactured to a much higher standard than the old drill set that I've just mentioned. So without further ado, I think I'll put them to the test. I'm about to drill a hole in this piece of brass. First of all, it goes through with the 1/4" end part, and I'm going to go down the steps until I get a hole that is 5/8 of an inch in diameter. At the moment, it's cutting like butter. It's as though the brass isn't there, and the chippings are coming off okay as well, and it's not getting very hot. I wouldn't normally use much in the way of lubricant when drilling holes in brass, so I'm not going to use any for this test. There's a lot of swarf coming off the cutter, and the swarf isn't fragmenting. The sound you just heard was a piece of metal falling off the drilling table and hitting the floor after it hit my toe. Never mind, one has to suffer for one's art. There goes something else. Anyway, is it a success? Yes, it is. One very neatly cut hole, 5/8 of an inch in diameter. Brass is quite soft and very easy to work. This stuff, on the other hand, is not. This is a piece of stainless steel, and for the benefit of beginners to metalwork, I'd better mention that stainless steel, like some other metals, work hardens. So if you don't put sufficient pressure on the drill to keep it moving through the work, the stainless steel will work harden and destroy the drill point. So it's time for the test. The reason for the oil is to give it a fighting chance. It's always a good idea to apply a little bit of lubrication when cutting hard steel. As you can clearly see by the smoke and the sound of the cutter, this metal is taking much more cutting than the piece of brass did. But I'm giving the step cutter a fighting chance. I'm applying quite a lot of pressure to force the cutter through the work and prevent the work hardening problem. Once the cutter had gone through and drilled the hole, I turned over the piece of metal in the machine vise and cut the other end to just deburr it. So here's the finished hole, clean on both sides, and it's very nice indeed. And don't forget, this is not just any piece of steel, this is stainless steel. Very difficult to drill. And despite the violence, the cutter has survived intact. In fact, it's just as good as it was before I first started using it. So what do I think about this stepped hole cutter set? It was very cheap, and I'd rather pay more money knowing that the parts were very good quality. But this seems to be fine. I'm going to put this set into service. This is on the shelf behind the lathe and right next to the drilling machine, and to the left of the red box you can see a couple of hole cutters that I've had for many years. These arrived in the post this morning, sent to me all the way from China, and they weren't very well packed. As you can see, the plastic lid is cracked. But to be fair, it was a very thin, weedy plastic lid, so if it hadn't have cracked in the post, it would have probably cracked if I dropped it on the floor in the workshop. These are another set of rubbery cutters. Some of them seem to be made out of a felt-like material. I wonder if these are also impregnated with bits of diamond, like on the other set. The pink ones look to be standard carborundum type material. I don't think I'm going to bother testing these out. I'm sure they'll be okay. I can't really think of a job that I would need to use these on for the moment. If you're into jewellery or cleaning up small castings, then they would be very useful things to have in the workshop. The most curious thing about this set, though, is what it smells like. It smells of cannabis. Honestly, it does. It really does smell of cannabis, so maybe you can smoke these, I'm not sure. But I don't think I'll put that to the test. I'll move on to the next item. This is an adjustable bell whistle, complete with valve, and it's a microcosm product. I've put the details on screen. I already have a few microcosm products, and I find them to be very good indeed, very well made. But does it work? It certainly does. It's a bit high-pitched because it's a very small whistle. This whistle is adjustable so you can get the best tone from it. By moving the top part of the bell, you can set it for optimum volume and tone. I'm just messing about with the whistle to see what the variations are, and after a bit of adjustment it sounds like this. There was also a pleasant surprise in the same package. Although I didn't buy this, it was sent to me anyway. This is beautiful. It's a hand wheel, and it's a perfect fit to replace this crude cast item which was originally fitted to the mechanical lubricator of my Stuart 5A steam engine. I really do like the look of this hand wheel, and I thank Microcosm for the free gift, and I'll let this episode play out with my 5A running and driving the nice little hand wheel on the lubricator. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful.